What's Cooking stands out in Tales from the Crypt as a darkly comedic yet profoundly unsettling exploration of greed, vanity, and the consequences of moral corruption. From the very first scene, the audience is drawn into a meticulously constructed world where the familiar setting of a kitchen becomes a stage for human depravity. The story begins in a quaint suburban home, presenting an ordinary domestic scene that lulls the viewer into a sense of comfort before shattering it with the introduction of the protagonist, a seemingly charming but morally dubious chef named Victor. His obsession with culinary perfection quickly reveals itself as more than a professional pursuit. It becomes a vehicle for control and manipulation. Victor's character is crafted with subtle nuances, from the meticulous way he arranges his kitchen tools to the obsessive attention he pays to the textures of his ingredients. These early scenes are rich in visual storytelling, establishing the psychological depth that will define the narrative. The camera lingers on his hands slicing vegetables with a precision that borders on ritualistic, emphasizing not only his skill but also the latent danger in his character. As the plot unfolds, Victor's interactions with the secondary characters, particularly his ambitious sous chef and a wealthy patron, reveal layers of tension and envy. The sous chef, a younger and more idealistic figure, serves as a foil to Victor, highlighting the moral compromises that ambition can drive a person to make. Scenes in which the sous chef questions Victor's methods are imbued with dramatic irony, as the audience gradually realizes that Victor's obsession is spiraling beyond mere culinary excellence into a darker, more sinister territory. The wealthy patron, whose insatiable appetite mirrors Victor's own for perfection, becomes a symbol of indulgence and gluttony. Their interactions are laced with tension, each dialogue scene carefully choreographed to build suspense and highlight the thematic undercurrents of greed and exploitation. The episode's middle sequences mark a turning point as Victor begins experimenting with increasingly macabre ingredients, hinting at a transgression that blurs the line between art and atrocity. The cinematography cleverly juxtaposes the warmth of the kitchen with the cold, clinical precision of his actions, creating an unsettling atmosphere. Lighting plays a crucial role, with the glow from stovetops and ovens casting distorted shadows that amplify the sense of dread. The audience witnesses the subtle transformation of Victor from an admired chef to a figure of horror, and the tension escalates with each carefully framed shot. The camera angles, often tight on Victor's face or hands, immerse viewers in his obsessive psyche, making them complicit in his descent. There is a rhythm to these scenes, a pacing that mirrors the crescendo of his obsession, and it is executed with masterful timing that evokes both fascination and repulsion. The climax of What's Cooking delivers the signature Tales from the Crypt blend of shock, irony, and moral reckoning. Victor's hubris culminates in an elaborate dinner intended to showcase his supreme culinary achievement. The tension reaches a fever pitch as the guests unknowingly consume a meal that symbolizes the ultimate betrayal of trust and morality. The suspense is sustained through precise editing, with quick cuts alternating between Victor's meticulous preparations and the unsuspecting diners, creating a sense of inevitability. This narrative structure not only heightens the horror but also underscores the thematic resonance of poetic justice. The horror is not derived solely from gore or shock value but from the intellectual satisfaction of witnessing a morally compromised character face the consequences of his actions. One of the most compelling aspects of this episode is the interplay between horror and dark comedy. The grotesque elements, though disturbing, are often presented with a twisted sense of humor that forces the audience to confront the absurdity of human folly. Victor's exaggerated seriousness, juxtaposed with the increasingly bizarre and horrific events unfolding around him, creates a tension between laughter and fear. This tonal balance is achieved through sharp dialogue, visual irony, and timing, and it reinforces the series' reputation for blending macabre storytelling with social commentary. It is a reminder that horror can serve not only to frighten but also to reflect the darker truths about human nature, particularly our tendencies toward excess, pride, and ethical compromise. The final scenes are a study in poetic justice and narrative closure. Victor's downfall is both inevitable and richly ironic, with the culmination of his own ambitions leading directly to his undoing. The use of mise-en-scene emphasizes his isolation and the consequences of his moral corruption, with the once vibrant kitchen now transformed into a space of dread and decay. The camera pulls back, allowing the audience to absorb the full scope of the catastrophe, reinforcing the narrative lesson that obsession and immorality carry unavoidable consequences. The episode concludes with a chilling sense of satisfaction, as the cryptic humor and moral clarity for which the series is known leave a lasting impression. From a personal perspective, the episode resonates deeply because of its meticulous attention to psychological realism and symbolic storytelling. The kitchen, often perceived as a place of creation and nurturing, becomes a stage for examining human vice and vulnerability. Each scene invites reflection on how obsession and desire can distort ethical boundaries, and the grotesque humor serves as a lens through which the audience can examine their own potential for excess and moral compromise. The interplay of suspense, irony, and psychological depth elevates what's cooking from a mere horror story to a rich exploration of human nature, leaving viewers both disturbed and contemplative long after the screen goes dark.